Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the British billionaire and Manchester United's majority shareholder, was sitting across from him. There was no need for pleasantries here. Both men understood the magnitude of the conversation unfolding. The past few years had been challenging for Pogba. His time at Manchester United had been marred by inconsistency, injuries, and frustration with the club's direction. Though his talent was undeniable, it had felt like something was missing. He had watched players come and go, managers change, and the squad fail to fulfill its potential year after year. The fans' expectations had grown, and Pogba knew the clock was ticking on his time at Old Trafford. And now, the weight of his future was in the balance. Ratcliffe, however, had a different plan for the Frenchman. He knew that the global superstar was still an asset, even if some of the magic had faded. Ratcliffe was focused on building a team that would not just compete, but challenge for titles. And the key to this vision was Ruben Amorim, the young and dynamic manager of Sporting CP, who had a reputation for revitalizing players like Pogba. "Paul," Ratcliffe started, his voice calm and measured, "we both know your time at United has reached its limit. What's next for you? I think we both know the answer." He let the question hang in the air. Pogba leaned back, folding his arms across his chest. The idea of leaving the Premier League was a hard pill to swallow, but there was something about the challenge of playing for Amorim that intrigued him. He'd been keeping a close eye on Amorim's Sporting CP. The team was disciplined, tactical, and direct, qualities that Pogba respected. They played with an intensity that was hard to ignore, and Amorim's track record with players, helping them rediscover their best form, pushing them beyond what they thought was possible, made it even more appealing. "I've been thinking about it a lot," Pogba said slowly, his gaze steady on Ratcliffe. "But joining Amorim's team means more than just a new place to play. It's a new philosophy, a fresh start. I need to know the club, the direction we're going in, and honestly, I want to see if Amorim's vision fits with mine." Sir Jim Ratcliffe nodded, appreciating Pogba's honesty. "I agree. Amorim's been brilliant with the talent he's worked with at Sporting CP. But before we get into the details, let's talk about the condition of your potential move. This isn't just a transfer. It's about aligning with a long-term strategy." Pogba raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you mean by that?" "First," Ratcliffe said, adjusting in his chair, "Amorim has made it clear that he's looking for more than just a high-profile name. He wants players who are fully committed to the system, the pressing game, the tactical discipline. You've always had the talent, Paul, but Amorim's approach will push you to your limits. Are you ready for that?" Pogba took a moment to reflect. He'd spent his career hearing about managers who wanted him to perform at his best, but this was different. Amorim was a manager who demanded commitment, not just from the stars, but from every player. He wasn't here to indulge egos. He was building a team that would fight for every inch on the pitch. "Yes," Pogba replied firmly. "I'm ready for that. It's exactly what I need. I've been playing in systems that didn't get the best out of me. Amorim's style could be the key to unlocking that potential." Ratcliffe smiled. "That's good to hear. Second, we need to discuss financials. You've got a lucrative contract here, Paul, but we're offering you something different, not just in terms of wages, but in terms of a future role at the club. Amorim sees you as a leader, a key part of this new project. Your experience, your presence in the locker room. He wants you to be that figure for Sporting CP. So we'll need to structure a deal that works for everyone, but with a focus on performance-based incentives. You succeed, we all succeed. That's the model we're looking for." Pogba's eyes flickered with curiosity. He had never been one for complacency, and the idea of his contract being tied to performance was something he respected. It wasn't just about the paycheck, it was about proving himself, week in and week out. "Performance-based?" Pogba echoed, mulling it over. "That's fair. I'm not looking for an easy ride. I know what I can bring to a team, but I want to be pushed too. Exactly, Ratcliffe said, leaning forward. And last, Paul, there's one final piece to consider. Your legacy. I know how much winning means to you. We're building something special here, and Amorim has the right philosophy to make it work. You'd be stepping into a role that's crucial, not just for this season, but for the future of the club. It's not just about joining another club, it's about being part of something that could last. Pogba felt a surge of excitement. Antony backed to ask Man United for huge £10 million payout as winger faces painful reality. Manchester United looks set to get rid of Antony in the summer despite his upturn in form at Real Betis, but have been warned by an ex-player that it could cost them a lot. It was a transfer that sent shockwaves through Old Trafford. Manchester United's £82 million investment in Brazilian winger Antony, fresh from a promising spell at Ajax, was supposed to be the missing piece in their attacking puzzle. The hype surrounding the move was massive, but the reality turned out to be different. From the very beginning, Antony's performances failed to match the astronomical price tag. His silky dribbling, which had dazzled in the Eredivisie, seemed lost in the chaos of the Premier League. Fans grew restless, critics sharpened their knives, and soon the term flop started to follow him like a shadow. Despite flashes of brilliance, the pressure on Antony mounted, and Manchester United began to consider their options. Would the club cut its losses and admit failure, or would they stand by their man and give him more time to adjust? The answer came earlier this year. In January, a twist in the tale. Antony was loaned to Real Betis, a move that many saw as the final chapter in his disappointing United career. The loan deal was seen as a temporary fix, a way for the Brazilian to rebuild his confidence in a less demanding league. But what happened next was nothing short of a redemption story. At Real Betis, Antony began to shine once more. The shackles of expectation were lifted, and with a new sense of freedom, he rediscovered the form that had once made him one of the hottest prospects in Europe. He was a force to be reckoned with on the wing, using his pace and flair to torment defenders in La Liga. It was as if a new Antony had emerged, one with the swagger and confidence that had eluded him during his time at Manchester United. Yet this success came at a cost for Manchester United. Reports began to surface that the club might have to take a significant financial hit to offload the Brazilian. The £82 million investment, which had seemed like a solid bet at the time, might now be viewed as a cautionary tale of overhyped transfers. As the months went by, Antony's renaissance in Spain grew more undeniable. His performances for Betis had sparked interest from several top clubs, and the whispers of a permanent transfer became louder. For Manchester United, the prospect of losing a player for far less than they had paid for him loomed large. But the bigger question remained. Could Antony ever return to the level expected of him in England? And would United be willing to swallow their pride and a significant financial loss to get rid of the £82 million flop? As the transfer saga continued to unfold, one thing was clear. Antony's journey was far from over. Whether he would find his ultimate home at Betis, another club, or back at Old Trafford remained uncertain. But for now, his story was one of personal redemption, a reminder of how quickly fortunes can change in the world of football. When Manchester United shelled out £82 million to sign Antony from Ajax in 2022, expectations were sky high. The Brazilian winger was supposed to be a key part of the team's attacking revolution, bringing flair, speed, and creativity to a side in desperate need of fresh talent. Yet from the start, his performances fell short. Despite glimpses of his potential, Antony struggled to adapt to the Premier League's intensity, leading many to label him a costly flop. The tension mounted as the pressure grew heavier, and by January 2025, it seemed like his time at Old Trafford was nearing its end. In a move that seemed both logical and necessary, Antony was loaned out to Real Betis in La Liga. For United, it was an opportunity to take a step back and allow the winger to rediscover his confidence away from the relentless expectations of Manchester. It didn't take long for Antony to prove that he still had the magic that made him a standout at Ajax. In just 11 appearances for Betis, he scored 4 goals and provided 4 assists, reminding fans and critics alike of the talent that had once made him one of the most sought-after players in Europe. His performances in Spain have been a revelation, filled with the kind of swagger and composure that had been missing in England. As he found his rhythm on the ball, it was clear that the move to La Liga had unlocked a new chapter in his career. But despite Antony's resurgence in Spain, the question remains, what's next for him? According to reports, Manchester United are still keen on offloading the Brazilian winger in the summer, despite his renewed form at Betis. The club is in the midst of a rebuilding project under new manager Ruben Amorim, and it seems clear that Antony doesn't fit into their long-term plans.